So today we're going to talk about 101 sneaky energy healing techniques that will impress your friends. And we have expert Dr. Catherine Perry, who's a Reiki master, a creation coach. She's an energy healer. There's so much more. Doctor of Divinity. And I know you're all about creating, Catherine. So I think it'd be fabulous if we talk about all these things with our listeners today.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank you.
yes. And let me just say, we're on the Balance Your Life podcast, Our Evolving Consciousness. I'm Debbie Peterson.
I'm Z Valente,
And here we are with Dr. Catherine Perry.
Hey.
So talk to us about creating.
Yeah, you and I've known each other for a while, Debbie, and I'm glad to meet your co-host. Hello. One of the things we've talked about with each other for years, and it just seems like it's been enhancing and getting to be more and more clear and powerful, is that we truly can have, do, and be anything that we desire, as long as our vibration is a match for that which we are asking for. And certainly be something that would be benevolent, good, coming from light and love, positivity, something that enhances our own lives, but also enhances other people's lives, right? And so, I've been talking about this for years and practicing it myself, where not just in helping other people, certainly in my coaching and healing practice, but in my personal life, right?
Yes.
So we've all had experiences where, you hear the still small voice, you hear that voice inside, and you kind of get a ping to go do something, and you're not even sure why you're doing it. And then you do it, and you realize after you see what happens, what the outcome is, that, oh my God, I'm glad I listened to that, right?
Right. Or the
And
opposite,
so,
when you don't listen, and then you go, why didn't I listen?
why didn't I listen to that, right?
Yes.
And so you know what? So for example, one day, and this isn't really that big of a thing, but it was kind of fun. My dad and stepmom and gang wanted to go to a coffee shop, and they were waiting in the car for me to join them. And I was still in the house, and I was like, well, just a second, I need to use the restroom. I'll be in there in a minute. And the next thing I know, I hear the voice, inside, and it's like, walk over to that bowl of fruit. I'm like, okay. And I'm looking down and I'm looking at a banana, and I'm getting, put a banana in your purse. Okay. So I'm putting a banana in the purse, and I can hear them out there in the garage. Are you coming? Yeah. So I got the banana in the purse. I'm like, I don't know what this is about. We go to the coffee shop, we're hanging out, we're talking, and out of the blue, my dad goes, yeah, I really wish I had a banana. Bing, and I pull it out.
Here you go.
And he's like, what? I don't know. And I didn't tell him.
That's
I
great.
didn't say a word. I just gave him to the banana. He goes, that's weird. Yeah, isn't it?
Yes.
But right? In another instance, and I know you guys have stories like this too, and I love when we have these conversations. I was just, walking past a pile of papers. It looked like 2.5, 3 inches thick, and none of them made any sense. It was in my kitchen. And my son was doing his homework in the other room, and I just suddenly felt myself drawn toward the pile of papers. And I just sifted through one time, and one paper stood out. I pulled it out, and I knew I needed to give that to him. Even though, that feeling, you don't really know why. It's like, okay, this one paper out of all these like 300 papers. So I walk in there and I go, do you need this? And he goes, oh my God, Mom, I've been looking for that. We have a quiz tomorrow. That's the paper. That's the quiz information.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, oh, well, yeah, once again,
Catherine, you're really great at listening to that voice, and you recognize it, and you're in that place. But more often than not, people do not listen to that voice or doubt it.
Yes.
Right. So
question it. Yeah.
How do we get better at listening to that voice? Because we're in the practice of living our life by our intuition and listening to it, but we can both admit very recently not listening to it and watching the snowball effect of it. So what kind of tools can we give people to just get them to listen?
To trust it?
Yeah,
trust it.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so,
yes.
Yeah, and I too was in a place, in that place where I wanted to be able to discern easily what is the difference between just my thoughts and the thoughts that are translated intuition, where it's an inspiration, it's an intuition. I'm supposed to listen to that. And really, it just comes with one, the intention. I intend to be effective at this. I am effective at this. Two, to be present as often as we can.
Okay.
Yes.
Get yourself into the present. And often, for me, that requires taking a few deep breaths, just in through the nose.
Today.
Right? Blowing out, doing a few of those, getting yourself into the present. I do that with every one of my clients. We do 3 to 6 really deep breaths, hold the breath, blow out, and then just kind of settle in. Just let everything that is, you could say, the mind clutter released, and intend clarity. I now have clarity. I now have clarity.
Excellent.
And then quietly, just hear what comes through. I know for me, and it's not just a hearing, I actually feel it in my body. So like kind of a chill feeling. Sometimes it's warmth. Sometimes it's heat going down the spine when spirit really wants to get my attention. Really, really, really wants to get the attention. Okay, you want electricity down your leg? Here's your electricity down your leg. Okay, well, I'm driving a car. I don't want to step too far on that accelerator. But it really is practice. It's just like anything else. If you're practicing writing, if you're practicing singing, you're doing yoga. Every time you do yoga, you're a little bit more flexible. Every time you do those deep breaths, your lung capacity is better. Every time you deliberately quiet yourself to hear the still small voice, you have more capacity to do it. And then as you do it, as you notice yourself, I like to call it being aware in action. As you notice yourself taking the action, getting the feedback that this worked,
right,
this did something, it not only produced an outcome good for myself, but it also demonstrated, because there were a couple of witnesses who saw it too, and they got to experience it too, and like, so it makes it more real. And neuroplasticity, we're memorizing that. We're getting it on the physical and non-physical. So practice makes better, and better makes greater, and greater makes mastery.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to talk about some of those sneaky energy healing techniques?
Oh, you just can't wait. You're chomping at the bit. I know.
Oh, we don't have to go to that yet, but I just.
Oh no, we definitely can't. I was thinking this morning, there's so many. And, I love to say sneaky because what it does? It entices people. They're like, yes, you're going to do energy healing when needed out of love, light, and compassion, benevolence. You want to help your fellow human being, your own self, obviously your own well-being, and others. And whether you have a practice where you actually do it, you have paying customers coming in, getting that service and getting results that they love. So you keep doing it because you see the results.
Right.
But literally in your personal life every day, I think I was telling you about one of those. Okay, here's one.
Okay.
And I don't mean sneaky like vindictive. You're not playing tricks on people.
No,
They just don't know what you're doing, and they're like surprised at what's going on, and you're like, I did something right. And so I used to play in the car with it when I would be at a traffic light, and I thought, well, I believe it would benefit me and everyone involved if the cycle for the lights at this intersection would just go a little faster. Right. That's all. Everybody stops at the red. Everybody goes at the green. You yield to the yellow. But if we can just speed it up a little bit, so we can get going, right? And so I would do a little energy thing with my hand, and you could say, is that a Reiki symbol? What kind of symbol is that? What are you doing? It wasn't really a symbol because when I started doing that, I wasn't trained yet in any techniques, but I just would find myself intuitively, automatically doing that, and bing, the light would change. So I tried again, bing, the light would change again, and it started to be a regular thing. And I thought, I think I just won't tell anybody about that. So little sneakyosity, creative sneakyosity. And so another one was, no names, okay? I don't want to get anybody publicity that they don't want. Out to dinner with the family a few years ago, and one of the college-age kids was complaining about a particular family member they knew who was going to be there. Oh my God, they're so obnoxious. Oh my God, they're always so obnoxious, So I thought, well, upon entering the restaurant, I'll just go ahead and send some Reiki to the whole building. And then while sitting down, I'll just kind of aim some under the table, just to kind of bring about a little bit more balance, a little bit more peace, calmness, pleasantness. And that person, it was like a different personality.
Wow, that's great. Yeah.
Afterwards, this particular person who was complaining about that one said, I've never seen him act like that before. That was so different.
Isn't that lovely?
Wasn't it though?
Yeah.
Right?
I've actually done that too,
Yeah.
but I put it out. I don't send the Reiki because I don't know how to do that.
Well,
but yeah, you put it out there, the intention.
You know what? You're setting the intention and you're collecting
Right.
to
That it's going to be
consciousness.
calmer.
So why don't, Catherine, why don't we back up a little bit? Because of your expertise, it's kind of a no-brainer, but why don't we talk a little bit about what is happening when you are using Reiki and when you're using it effectively in the field?
Yeah. And
Okay.
so on the premise that everything is energy,
Yes.
and that each of us is tuned into this universal, pure positive source energy that's everywhere and throughout everything. We have our universal energy, source energy, and then we have our individual, our unique energy field, and what we're doing with our own chi mixed in. You can call it chi, ki, prana, mana. There's lots of words for that beautiful energy. And so, the notion that, well, now spirit is showing me a guitar. Okay, when you're tuning a guitar or a musical instrument, you have specific frequencies and tones that each string has to play. Otherwise, your sounds won't sound good, right? And so, let's say I want to feel, sense, and know and experience more of a frequency of peace, or frequency of love, or enthusiasm. Okay, I could send that out, and it's going to naturally entrain or tune the energy around me to that frequency.
Right.
And now let's talk about free will real quick, because there's an ethical situation that should be addressed, and that is, I'm always going to ask my higher self if it's appropriate, and also declare that everyone in here is a sovereign being, and they get to choose whether they receive it.
Yes.
So I'm giving it to myself, and all the edges and beams of the energy that flow beyond the core of me may be vibrating to that. And yes, anybody who's willing to receive any on a very, let's say, a subconscious, superconscious level will receive it. But people have the power to block it too. If subconsciously they would block something that would come their way, I don't know why they would want to take in a little bit of joy, a little bit of ecstasy, a little bit of love. But if they do, so yes, and you could say it's kind of like a tuning fork too. There's another way, a tuning fork. When you hit a tuning fork, you get a a tone,
Vibration, right,
Yeah.
goes out into
yeah,
the
just
travels out, and so anyone
yeah,
vibration is going to receive it.
yeah. So other musical instruments will receive it. They might even start humming to that same tune, but
Right.
people can receive it too.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And so I know there's a whole scientific way of explaining it, but I'm not really going to get into all that. I think just keep it really general.
Okay.
Your frequency can bring up the frequency of another person, and isn't that beautiful
It
Yeah,
is.
it really
that
is.
that works?
Yeah.
When we intend to make our own frequency that high, and we intend to radiate that no matter where we are, no matter where we go, we don't really have to check in with each person. Hey, don't you feel better right now? Because I'm in the room. But
Yeah.
haven't you heard people say, wow, when that person comes in, it's like the whole room lit up.
Yeah.
You could feel their energy, We all know people like that.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We do.
You're people like that.
Yeah,
So
but
do
it's that kind of thing that we always say.
Mm.
You can't help people from a place of despair. You have to help yourself first, and you can't get sick enough to make a sick person well,
Right.
or sad enough to make a sad person happy. You need to stand in that light and that vibration, right? Be in that place to effectuate people around you.
Yes. Yes. Always. Always. And to add this piece in too, I was sort of playing around, staying really lighthearted with that subject, sneaky energy healing techniques. That's the lightheartedness of it. That's the fun of it, of course. but it's also you're giving yourself and others such a great gift, and you're also setting yourself up to attract more, which is part of what I teach. Attract more of what you really love and like and appreciate in your life. And so you're set up to gratitude, and what are you going to get?
Yeah.
More things that show up that make you feel grateful, right?
Because your work is so beautiful and where it comes from and the message that you're teaching, let's talk a little bit about your teaching and your work. What it is that you do, how you got here with that, if you would like to share a little bit of that.
Yeah. So oh my goodness. No, it's just it's gotten so big. It's grown so much. And so compared to what it was before. No, I mean, in a nutshell, I had a lot of little, you could say intuitive and psychic events that occurred throughout life. I thought I was a really lucky person. I didn't know about law of attraction and manifestation. I just could draw things to me, make things happen. And I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky. And when I started working as a counselor, before I went into pure energy healing and doing the spiritual hypnosis and reading the Akashic records and clearing past life, I was doing counseling, and I started to notice auras around people. Wow. And I didn't know what that was. I didn't have a vocabulary for it, but I thought, okay. And I started feeling energy running through me too. And also noticing that people were getting better. And I mean, literally, they were quitting their addictions. Kids, the ADD was like half of what it was, or even seemed to be none compared to some of the school, with what the school counselors were telling me, that they were noticing the differences in the kids, and the parents were noticing it too. I just had a really big awakening. I just started seeing more, hearing more, and then meeting more people who were also seeing. They were clairvoyant, they were psychic. And I was literally knowing what was going on with a client before they walked in the door or when they sat down, and I would see. And of course, you guys have talked to so many different intuitives and psychics, and you've heard this story. The more you open and the more you allow, and the more I'm going to say, the more you accept it. When the more comfortable you are with it and you accept it, okay, well, Spirit's going to give you more, right? And so, it got to the point where I could just beam energy out of my heart. And this is kind of before I got trained in Reiki and all these other things. I think those were used to hone the skills, maybe meet other people who also are doing it. So I felt a sense of safety and support while I was doing the work. But people were getting better. They had heart conditions. Their heart conditions were alleviated. Cancer shrinking and even disappearing. Anxiety, panic attacks, gone. Migraines, gone. Awesome. So it was this laboratory. I thought I would finish doing a healing session, for example, which I wasn't even calling it that. I was calling it counseling. And they'd have a rainbow over their head inside. It's not raining anywhere. There's no precipitation. The sun's not shining in the room, but there's a rainbow on someone's head. Okay. All right. I see that. All right. And then, there was one instance where I was learning about distance healing too. And I had a relative who had been diagnosed with pretty widespread, cancer throughout the body. And I didn't talk to her about it, but I just suddenly knew that I could do distance healing. And this is, again, before being trained to do Reiki, where you're trained to do distance healing. And so I put myself into a trance, and I suddenly had this memory of being a shaman, like a Native American shaman. And I knew exactly how to send healing to her. And what the message I got was all of the tumors are now shrunk to the size of grains of sand. Beautiful. And I had nobody coaching me on that, nobody telling me. I was just going with it. Yeah. And then the next thing I know, it's like weeks later, I get a call that she just got, I had a doctor's appointment, and they did a scan of some kind. And the words the doctors used blew me away, that all the tumors had shrunk to the size of grains of sand. Wow. And I'm like, they said that? Yeah. They said what?
Wonderful sense of humor. Yeah. And validation is beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, I have chills talking about it. It's like, it's that sense of knowing. Some people call them mystics. Sometimes, whatever that word is, your knowing is on, and you're so innately certain that that is real, you're not even questioning it, and you're just going through the act, inspired action.
You're allowing.
Allowing, yes, love that word. Love that word. So you're automatically aligned, and you're allowing, and you're letting it happen. And then, okay, my life had just been up to this point, and still is, like a laboratory. Okay, what else can I help people do? Right. So one person in a counseling session, again, this is before having any formal training in spiritual healing. I'm sure there were many past lives. I kind of have tapped into that where they were there. It's kind of all coming back to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's coming back. But even something like money, I didn't know it would work with money. I was thinking anxiety, sadness, bring people back to happiness and calmness, calm confidence. They're better at their sport. Their relationships are going better. They feel better. They've lost the weight, all that stuff. So a woman was upset, one of the clients, that this has happened on more than one occasion, really upset that her ex was so far behind, on thousands of dollars behind on child support.
Mm.
And of course, she's telling me about it. And now I'm used to the energy. I'm used to it. So I just let it flow. I don't really know how or why it works. I'm letting it flow. I said, wouldn't that be so surprising that if you got home today and you open your mailbox, the money might be there.
Wow.
Now, I know you know what I'm about to tell you.
Yes.
I got a phone call that afternoon.
Oh,
You're not going to believe what was in my mailbox.
that's awesome.
Thousands of dollars in a check from that guy. And I'm like, okay. Okay. And then there's, the mysterious email healing. This isn't really what I would consider, the sneaky thing. This is more like just intuitive, and I got to follow what, my intuition is telling me to do, even though I don't know what it's about. And then I find out this great thing happened. Okay, I'll tell you what it is. I just felt this inkling to go into the healing space that I have set up in my home where I meditate. And I sat down in the chair I usually sit in, and suddenly I feel spirit guiding my hands down toward my second chakra, but a little bit below that. And my hands got hotter than they usually get. Hot, 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 hot. And I just went into a trance. And I was there for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. I get a call from a friend of mine. She says, I'm so glad you got my email. Like, she sensed that I was doing what I was doing. I said, I didn't get your email. And she said, well, what did it say? And she goes, well, I was telling you that my daughter has a grapefruit-sized tumor in her body, and I wanted your help. So obviously through the ethers,
You're on it. That's good.
I was on it without even knowing. She's like, you didn't. So 3 days later, it may have been 4 days. I don't remember if it was exactly 3 or 4, but she called me up and she said, well, she went and had an ultrasound and the tumor's gone.
Wow. Yeah.
So I thought, I know that wasn't just me. I know I participated in something that it's way bigger than me. I know that. And I was glad to be on the team.
I had it happen too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Catherine, I just want to stop a second, because it's such, like, you are clearly such a pure vessel.
Yeah.
And that whatever you get just comes from love. And I mean, it's so, hearing your story, right, of how it developed, and you were working with kids, and you're in school as a counselor, and you're starting to know people's stories, and you stayed in a place of being from love and compassion the entire time. And that's why it's so incredible, these things that are happening.
Yeah.
It's but I want to challenge you to think back as a kid.
I was going to ask that too. Yeah.
Can you remember times when you had a knowing, or your hopes affected people around you?
I did have some knowings, and interestingly, I had put a book out in 2010 called Courageous Wake, and it was my coming out of the spiritual closet book. But anyway, but it has some stories of that, of recalling things that I mean, there were quite a few of those. I'm being flooded now, and you asked that, and I'm being flooded with all these pictures. oh, okay, I'm getting the videos of this, the videos of that.
Same thing. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it was just little things. Sometimes it was for myself. For example, I fell off a horse when I was 12, and I could kind of psychically sense that my arm was broken, but it didn't look broken. There was nothing poking out. It wasn't red, wasn't even swollen. But I told my mom, bring me to the emergency room. My arm's broken. She just brought me, and the doctor palpated it, and he's like, "No, you're fine. It's not." And I said, "No, I know it's broken. You need to do an X-ray." And I didn't know what medical intuition was. I didn't even know what intuition was, but I could see it, feel it, and know it. And so after pushing and pushing and pushing and not being willing to leave until he did one. And a few minutes later, he came with the X-ray, and he's like, "Well, you were right. You got a fracture clear through your bone there, where you're going to have to be in a sling for a few weeks, several weeks." But it's that kind of speaking up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In another incident, I think I did put this in the book too. Again, I didn't know. I didn't put together till adulthood that this is a thing. I thought it was just a fluky, weird experience, but it wasn't connected to anything else. So it was a flight that my sister was scheduled to get on, and for some reason, my mom was trying to get us to both have an orthodontist appointment, and there was only one appointment available for like months. And she said, you got to take this or you're going to have to wait months to come back. And my sister said, well, you can't take that one because that's the day I go fly over to visit grandma and grandpa. And I looked at mom, I said, take the appointment. And I felt adamant about it. And now why would I care about going to the orthodontist? I mean, really, they're going to put a metal in your mouth? And so on the day of the appointments, because the flight was rescheduled, we took the appointments. My mom listened to me. That afternoon, we learned in the news that the flight she was scheduled to be on had crashed.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
So that benefited somebody.
Yes.
Do you think your mom was aware that you were connected? Like, was it in the lineage there in this lifetime?
I'll tell you, I believe that she was, but I know that because of her strict Catholic upbringing, and I think just the way the way the community was that we were in at that time, no one talked about that.
Sure.
They wouldn't even think to talk about that. But I know she was connected. I know she said something.
Right. Because she
thinking back, now not in the moment. No, I didn't know any of that.
Right.
But yeah, I remember her demeanor when she heard me, and she got it. It was like being, I mean, when does a 13-year-old tell their mom what to do?
Right.
She just does it. Well, you're, what I mean?
Right.
You should do this. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were all just sort of looking at the TV, just going, how did that's a coincidence, I think is the word we would use, right?
Right.
Well, I had told the story of with Gia, my little one, and we were in a car accident on her birthday. When she was 15, it was snowing, and we were going to get a massage that day. And I've told the story before, but she was in the back seat, and the car slid, so we slid sideways into a bank, and it was after coming out of a turn. And to bring it up very, very quickly, she kept saying, I have to get into the front seat. So I couldn't open my door and we couldn't get out. And I said, Gia, stay in the back. She said, I'm getting into the front seat. And something said to me, she is listening to her inner voice. And I said, go ahead, baby. And she got in, and it was under 60 seconds later, a car comes barreling around right there. Actually, she jumped into the back, but barreling around and hit the fender where she was. And
wow.
It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, she would have been hit, and it was amazing. And I said, Gia, always listen to your inner voice. Even if mommy is telling you no, you insist, you spoke up for yourself, and I'm glad for you. And I heard she's listening to her own voice. That's just reminded me of that when you told that story.
Yeah. So you've had plenty of those experiences too.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Occur.
I know.
And again, the more
And
you pay attention to it, the more it's there.
right,
But
absolutely.
Right.
it's really neat how you just kept getting this stuff and it was developing, and I see it as you were just from this place of purity
Yeah,
with
it's
it, and just
amazing.
like I just want to help people, and I just want
It's
to,
just
I'm just gonna
flowing
stick with
through.
it, and I it's a very cool story. It's very
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to say, one of the things when I sit down and have these, I'm going to call it a creation workshop with myself, I will write down what things I'm grateful for to get into that vibe of appreciation. And of course, that's for a million reasons, right? But,
Yes.
but I always put, you know, thank you for my intuition. Thank you for my awareness of it.
Mhm.
Thank you for my clarity. Thank you for my ease in hearing the voice I'm supposed to hear. So I will respond and take action. And it's I have chills as I'm talking about it
Yeah,
because when you think about all the people, including yourself, of course, and your children, your friends, people you've done business with, teachers. You could be a student in a class with a teacher, and you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, even if you don't know you are. I mean, just the
right.
idea that you're, somebody could be really having a bad thing happen in their life or having a bad day. They could be sad. They might not be sure if they're going to go on. And something about your energy, whether you know it or not, maybe bringing them up just enough that they, instead feeling like they have to climb a mountain, they could just cruise over the speed bump, that it
Right.
isn't quite that bad. It isn't, it's going to be okay.
Right. And everything works
Right.
out. All right.
And everything always works out. It, and one of the things I was going to say, it used to be a lot of fun, and I'm sure both of you have done this. I know you have. Is you assume that you're going to get a great parking space, and then you always find your parking spot. The parking angel. So right. So lately, I've been saying to myself, okay, I'm so prosperous and so wealthy that I'm able to be a very joyful, excited philanthropist, not just with money, but with other things. So what I'll do now is I'll go down a row in a parking lot, and a car will pull out, and I'm thinking normally I would have taken that one. I would have said, you know what, that's mine. Now I wait for someone else to come by. They take it, and then I'll turn the corner, and there's like 4 or 5 open for me.
That's great.
I love
Wait,
it.
say the statement again.
Yeah. Well, I'm so wealthy
Oh, yes.
and I'm so prosperous and so abundant that I'm this great philanthropist. So there's plenty for me, and there's always so much for everybody else.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
Right. And so, again, whether it's money or not, why not tip 30%? Why not buy a coffee at a coffee shop and give them a little bit more money than your coffee costs, Why? But that's what I used to, when I lived up in New Jersey, which is where, Deb, you and I met, that I was practicing getting that best parking space, and I would get competitive about it. Oh, that was supposed to be mine. Yeah. Now it's like, I'm going to give you that one. In fact, I'm going to give the 3 of you these, and I'm going to go over there, and like 6 more will open up for me. So I'm like, okay,
Try that.
just expanding and learning along the way that the more we understand that it's an abundance based benevolent universe, truly. And that frequency of the original love and light that created everything lives completely within us, in our DNA. We are that. We are that. We are creator. We are creator in form. And therefore, everywhere we go, everything we touch, really, when you have that innate awareness every day, your life is absolutely magical. And kind of with a state of awe and delight, that everybody around you is that. And everybody around you, somehow, some way, is benefiting wondrously from you knowing that about yourself and being that full on.
That's amazing.
Catherine, your message for our viewers was incredible, and
Yeah.
sadly we're running out of time, but this was fantastic.
Yeah,
I would really like us to get together again
yeah.
and talk about, because it's time that we're sharing our experiences, sharing the message, but really helping everyone come to that place. And I just love it because again, you can just see it with you that you are just this pure receptor, and that is why it multiplies the way that it does. And we can all work towards that. But you were naturally
quite
that
unique.
person.
Yeah,
You're
you
just
really are. I
beautiful.
mean, yeah,
It
a lot of
was
people.
lovely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
As you are too, and you know you are, because we couldn't have attracted the three of us together unless that were true, right?
you.
But
Yeah.
no,
I love it. Well, I've absolutely enjoyed being here.
Definitely love to
Very
have
much.
you back and
Very
talk
much.
what's happening in this world and do some deeper work. So
yeah.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Well, I look forward to doing this again. Yeah.
We look forward to having you on. We'll let you know. And thank you so
All right.
much for being
All
on.
right. Thank you.
All right. See you
thank you.
soon.
See
Bye-bye.
ya. Bye-bye.